Okay, please proceed.
Okay, so this is gonna be really our, for the record, our second COVID, board meeting, which I can't wait till this is over so we can all come together again. And one thing I want to mention before we start the meeting, how the staff in all the various departments have a, everyday 9 o'clock roundtable conference call. And many people are on that meeting to report out in their various areas. And I have to say something from a board member, that we can sleep well at night, that these folks are doing one heck of a job covering all the questions and problems and challenges that seem to be coming up. So they're doing a great job. I just wanted the board to know that for the record, and I think it's very important, and it's very good. I'm glad to be part of it. Moving on to the chairman's report. I need approval for the minutes of our regular and I'm going to bundle these regular and annual meeting for April. I need a motion.
Tina Fitzgerald.
Okay, Tina. Darlene seconds. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Future committee meetings, we're going to have an audit and finance committee. Rick or Brian, what else committee meetings did we discuss for the next month's meetings for June?
As of right now, that's all I think we need is just the audit and finance. I would like to note,
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
that the June meeting is typically moved up a week to allow the accounting staff to do their Paris reporting.
So June 19th, we're going to have our board meeting will be June 19th, and it's that time for that Paris report. So that'll be June 19th. I'll just let everybody be aware of that. Very good. Okay. Chief Executive Officer's report, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. A couple of quick things. We continue to operate on a Saturday schedule, an enhanced Saturday schedule in Onondaga County. We are building in a regular summer schedule, and we've begun the process of talking with the governor's staff and with a consultant that the governor's office hired regarding reopening and what that means for us. We had a number of phone calls with the consultant and with the governor's office over the past couple of weeks, and received information from the consultant relevant to our ability to be able to handle reopening with the restrictions that are put in place with respect to social distancing on buses. The report had a lot of information in it. Steve Cagle and Ed Mueller and their staffs and the senior staff here and senior staff who aren't here are looking at that information, and we will be able to put something in place as we move forward with the gradual reopening, which has started in this county. Ridership continues to remain impacted, down quite a bit, 70% on the fixed route, 65% on call bus. Onondaga County provided us at the end of April with masks to distribute at our hub to people boarding our buses that don't have a mask or didn't have a mask. Oswego County and Cayuga County have also provided, and Oneida County, thank you, Brian, masks to us to give to passengers that don't have them in order to keep our passengers and drivers safe. At the beginning of May, we started taking temperatures at the recommendation of the county health department, taking the temperatures of all employees at all locations as they report to work. There's designated spots at places of entry into the buildings. Employees take their own temperature and just log that they took the temperature, not logging the actual temperature. And that's obviously just put in place to help ensure that anybody coming into the building doesn't have, one of the symptoms of the virus. Staff Brian and Chris and Joe continue to meet every morning with the union representatives to ensure that there's dialogue between the groups, to make sure that we're hearing what they would request for employees and what we would like to provide to employees. So that's going very well. And we learned on a phone call, I think it was yesterday, that our daily meeting with the union is somewhat unique across the state. That's not happening a lot. Of course, they talk, but not every day. We have the CARES Act money, which is in some status of approval and movement. It changes about every day, but that is money that we've talked about before that we are able to draw against for expenses incurred as we go through this situation. So I think, having said that, that's all I have right now. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to. Oh yeah, let me mention too that staff members Steve Cagle and Brian Green. Brian is the relatively new senior director of operations, and Steve Cagle you all know. They both are working on the NIPTA Recovery and Restoration Task Force. It's the transit of properties associated with NIPTA across the state, and they are representing us in a marketing and funding segment of what we're doing on short and long-term issues, and Brian is representing us on transit operations issues. So we appreciate their participation in those groups. With that being said, I think that's all I have, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Very good. Rick, is there any more discussion with the next stimulus discussion, anything else that might impact transit?
Not that I'm aware of. If you're talking about the one that's being discussed at the federal level in the Senate and the House, they're in a very preliminary stage. Actually, I have a plan to call John Katko's office this coming week with Brian and Christopher just to touch base with him to see if he needs anything from us and to just kind of touch base.
And to add on to that, Nick, APTA is lobbying, that's our national organization, is lobbying for an additional almost $24 billion earmarked specifically for transit.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Lee? Okay. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to Audit and Finance Committee. This was all, as you guys know, discussed in detail. Christine went over the financial statements, which are put us in a very good position, a black position. Our mortgage tax, I thought, was good for over $500,000, and we ended the year in the black, which is very good. And our cash flow has been good, which we've always been concerned with. With that being said, a motion was made from the committee to move into the full board adoption. At this point, I would like to ask the board for a motion for adopt these financial statements. Thank you, Luella, and I need a second.
Tina Fitzgerald.
Hey, thank you, Tina. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
So with good news, always has an offset of not so good news. John Maloff came forward to us with our excess liability insurance. Based upon, I think, where we are in society right now, it has impacted the insurance market. Our excess liability insurance has gone up, I think it was about somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000 total, which will impact the budget as we go forward, the operating budget. I think John did a good job trying to shop the market, trying to look at other ways to bring it down. But at this point, we were not that successful, but we were successful in getting the best we can get at this point in time. With that being said, John presented to us. There was 3 of them. There was a $5 million with Princeton, and Hudson, let me see, Hudson, help me if I'm off of this a little bit, the Hudson Excess Insurance Company, another $5 million. In Lexington, there was a $5 million. Overall, for liability, we're up over $250,000 when we award contracts. With that being said, I'd like a motion to move to the full board for adoption. Motion, please. So moved, Joe Herdick.
Linda Fitzgerald.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to resolution 3B. Caitlin gave a good presentation on ChatG for their support, the licenses, the maintenance, and everything else. They usually have about a 4% increase annually. We have decided to go with a 5-year contract. And with that being said, a motion was made to bring it to the full board for adoption. I need a motion to move it forward.
So moved.
Llewellyn, Darlene, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Jackie brought forth a substance and abuse policy overview. It was driven by, I think it was the state, as Jackie said, to make some modifications. They brought a third party in, and there was modifications. We have a whole page on this, on the modifications that we need to adopt for our business. With that being said, the motion was made to bring it to the full board for adoption. I need a motion to adopt this.
Luella, Tina.
Darlene and Tina, all in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
That concludes the Audit and Finance Committee agenda. Christine, is there anything else you might want to say, or are we okay?
We're all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Moving on. Mr. Licurdo, let's hear a little bit from operations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've already received a copy of my written report. Just some updates from back in March when the COVID thing really took off. A fleet update with our bus manufacturers. It appears that specific to Gillard, they'll be back on, if they're not back online already, they'll be back online in the coming weeks, which is very important for us as we're in our last year of our 5-year contract. We have about 15 buses left on this contract, as I reported back in March. So the stress to them is going to be these buses need to be completed and delivered by next July, so we have them for the 2021 fair. All indications are that that will happen with some preliminary conversations with these folks, so that is some good news. Collective bargaining agreement, once again, back in March, I mentioned that all the contracts were expiring. You can just recently approve the CSR contract. The remainder contracts in Rome, Syracuse, and Oswego are also due. We sent out formal letters to the union requesting an exchange of proposals by the end of this summer, so hopefully we get negotiations going by the fall. Lastly, the United Facility experienced the severe flooding back last fall. It appears we should be getting those contractors in here soon as the regions enter phase 1 of the reopening and unpausing. So hopefully by July we can get that facility. It seems like it's been forever to get that facility up and running again with all the repairs. You know, it's further complicated by the fact that the furniture we're waiting on, they were shut down. The manufacturer of the furniture, the prisons were shut down in terms of manufacturing of that furniture. So we're hoping by sometime in July, maybe August, we will finally have a better Oneida facility put completely back together and get these folks back in a better working environment together in offices. And let's just pray we don't have another flood. With that, if there are no questions, that concludes my report. I hope everybody stays safe.
Yeah, and I think on the Oneida facility, I saw that destruction. I want to give Casey and his team another shout out to living through this mess. And hopefully,
amazing job, Nick. Amazing job.
Thanks, Rob, and your team for the efforts to getting that place back together, because I didn't think we're in the swimming pool business. Okay. Personnel Committee. Mr. Hardick, why don't you give us your report out on the Personnel Committee?
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Committee met this morning and considered a specific employment contract. We considered it, reviewed it, and presented to the full board for consideration for employment contract for Christopher Tuff, effective August 1st of 2020 for the position of Deputy Chief Executive Officer. It will run through March 31st of 2023, at which time he will move into the position of Chief Executive Officer. We recommended that this would be adopted out of the committee, and I make a motion that it will be adopted by the full board.
Any questions, Mr. Hardick, or anybody else?
Now's your chance to jump on that, Renee.
Okay, we congratulate Mr. Tuff on his efforts in helping in this role and our succession planning role as we move forward into the future years of the authority. With that being said, I need a motion to accept the employment contract.
Tina Fitzgerald.
Okay, we have Tina with a motion, we have Luella with a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. I'll refer to Mr. Lee. Any old business or the board?
The only thing I want to mention, Mr. Chairman, is simply a big thank you to all of the staff, all of the drivers, the mechanics, everybody that works in our outside properties, and everybody that contributes to the success of what we do in all 4 counties. I mean, the people that come into this building every day, the people that are working from home, the people that are working sometimes home, sometimes here. It's a very difficult situation to deal with. And I just want everybody to know from my point of view, and I'm sure this sentiment is shared by the people in this room, but I really do appreciate all of their effort and hard work. And they really need to try to understand, and it's hard, what an impact that they have on the lives of many people in the 4 counties that we serve. So just thank you to everybody.
Yes, we echo those words and we appreciate it. And I'd like to end by just telling everybody, once again, we appreciate everything you do. And I don't think there's any future business to be discussed, Mr. Lee.
I don't believe so, sir.
So stay safe, and we'll be in touch next week. Next month we'll be having our next board meeting, and hopefully at some point we'll be all together again. Thank you. I move motion for adjournment.
Darling. Luella.
Darlene, Noella, all in favor? Aye. Very good. Thank
Aye.
you, everybody.
Thank you. Have
Be good. Take care.
Everyone be safe. Bye.